everybody. It's me, Vivi, and I'm here with Melita, and we are so excited about our fall concert, which is currently streaming. And we just wanted to chat a little bit about it since we don't get to see each other every day like we normally do, just to kind of see how we feel about things and share that with you all. So anyways, Miss Melita, how was it like being back in a real space and having to do this recording instead of like our usual live audience performance?
It was fantastic actually to have that concert feeling again after not playing a concert for months and months.
Yeah.
Um, the excitement and the nerves and the eventness of it was so great to feel again. But
Yeah.
it was also fun to do the whole process of preparation, to have that like end goal in mind and to have that accomplished. I just really have missed playing concerts. So, how did it feel to you?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like my first initial reaction when I went back and like played my first few notes in Trinity, I was like, oh my God, I'm so loud. Like I was past how many months I've just been in this space that you are looking at right now. Which while it's not like the worst, I mean, it's a decent space, but it's not like a big live hall or church or something. So all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, like sometimes my sound like really carries. And that felt really exciting.
Yeah, I've retreated to my bedroom for practicing because my kids are doing distance learning and I'm trying to not disturb them. So I'm playing about, 4 feet away from a wall at home, and playing at Trinity was so different. So it took a little bit of getting used to be in a concert hall again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, you mentioned, I watched your little video when you talked about the Kodai, and you mentioned something about the whole like string tuning thing being different and how that takes some adjusting for you, or like that presents some kind of like new challenge. I was just wondering what that's about. I mean, as a non-string player, non-cellist, like, I mean, the only thing I can sort of like imagine that it would be like would be uh, like if I were to play alto flute, which is a transposing instrument, and then all of a sudden, like the fingers I push down are not the notes I'm used to hearing. So is it kind of that sort of sensation?
It is like that. When composers write scordatura, which is to tune the strings differently, they they write the music for the notes as if you were playing in a normal tuning. So
Mm-hmm.
what you see on the page is not what you hear. But as a musician, you don't have to do any work to transpose. You're just playing those notes, but they
Right.
sound totally different.
Yeah.
And it does take a little getting used to when you hear that and you think, well, I need to keep going, but there's no more notes in this position. So I got used to it, but it was pretty weird at first. The other thing that's hard about it is just the tuning itself, because the instrument, you're used to hearing it resonate with itself on certain pitches, like the open G
Mm.
will sympathetically resonate with any other G you play, like on the D string or the A string. And since the G string is now an F sharp, you don't have that sort of normal feeling when you're playing a G of it being in tune with the cello being in tune with itself. So it's kind of off-putting a little bit. You don't
Mm.
really feel like centered all the time. So
Yeah.
that's different for sure.
Yeah. I mean, would it feel like that? Like, I mean, if you had to play anything, or is it like especially weird for this repertoire in
I think
particular?
it would be like that with anything. I
Yeah.
think that different, but there are both lower strings are tuned down, so it was this doubly
Yeah.
different. But I was wondering about your piece because you had some extended techniques in yours, and one that I found really interesting was that you had to sing while you were playing. So I was wondering if this was
Yeah.
difficult or or something you like enjoyed.
I mean, it's not that difficult to do, but it's definitely one of those things. Like it had been a while since that best of me in a piece of music, and so it just sort of like takes a minute to remember how to engage that and do it like at the right time. That's the thing I find sort of a fun challenge about when you're thrown a variety of extended techniques that you don't necessarily, it's not part of like your regular vocabulary in the repertoire that you play, is that you have to access those like right when it says to, not like, oh, now this is working. So, but the singing and playing, it's funny. It's like, you literally, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like, like the way it's described. So as you like sing a pitch with your voice, like you're blowing air and like fingering, in this case, the same pitch, like I was just singing in octaves or something. But it's it kind of creates sort of like a really like kind of like a growling effect, I think, and it adds like a lot of texture. Like for me, it really like creates kind of a buzzing, very like I can imagine like a lot of like, well, like butterfly wings or some sort of like very insect like type movements from that like buzzy growly sound. So I think it, in the context of this piece, it definitely, works and adds another element of color.
Yeah, it was, I liked it a lot because it didn't stick out as like, oh, now she's doing a technique. It just seemed part of the whole aesthetic of the piece that was working. I really liked about this piece that you played that there's so many different moods and sort of colors in it. And that's one thing I really love about your playing is that you're like equally at home in some very sensitive, beautiful melody as you are in like a very excited, rambunctious passage. So can you tell me a little bit more about the piece and what you thought was going on?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, she, Valerie Coleman, who wrote this, Danza de la Mariposa, like she, wanted to sort of create like this very vivid landscape picture of the variety of butterfly species in South America. And so with that, she also kind of incorporated this Yaravi folk melody, which is sort of like a lament song. And so both the opening and closing of this evoke that. And so I think I did actually go and look for some of those Yaravi like songs to hear, just like have some context of like how people sing them. And it is very like kind of visceral. So there's something, I don't know, I just kind of felt like, oh, okay, this is very vocal. And I wanted to kind of like channel that as much as I could. While at the same time, like, she's clearly injecting a lot of activity within that in terms of these very capricious butterflies. So, even though they have, and just like, I mean, we've all been probably to a butterfly garden at some point, we've seen how they move. It's, some of them, like there's different characters within all of those butterfly species. So it is kind of an interesting idea, the way she wove all of this together. And fun for me, because I could kind of like try to imagine myself like going along with this journey. And not to mention like, I love South America too. So it was fun to just sort of imagine being there amongst the butterflies. Oh man.
That's a great piece.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'd never worked on it before. And so that was another fun challenge for now. It was just sort of like getting to spend some time getting to know something new and really learn it. But you also mentioned like, you've got one of the biggest staples of the cello repertoire, you've got the Bach suites, and then you sort of kind of not parallel in a way, like the sort of the weight of the Kadai like solo sonatas in terms of what they mean for the repertoire as a cellist. And I was just kind of wondering like, is it just sort of like, was there like a gap in terms of like solo repertoire music, or is it just sort of like everybody had been trying to sort of like create something as meaningful as Bach suites, and then this finally came along, it's like, oh, we got it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's the Bach suites sort of sit as such a big pillar in the cello literature. So, but there was a huge gap of really meaningful literature written for solo cello. There were like etudes and not significant works written until Kodai wrote this piece. And but in fact, the Bach suites weren't very well known as concert pieces until Casals started playing them, like right before Kodai wrote this piece. So it's very likely that that was part of the inspiration for Kodai to write this piece, was hearing Casals play the Bach suites. Of course, they're very different, but it kind of is this monumental work that came out of almost nowhere. Nowhere was there written such a great work for solo cello in such a very long time. And then soon after that came pieces by Casado and Isai and Bloch and so many more in the 20th century that it really is an amazing timeline that this piece was written in.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, just in terms of timeline. I mean, not to get like super duper geeky, but I think you said the solo sonata was written in 1915, and Debussy wrote Syrinx for solo flute in 1913, if I remember correctly. So, and that really was like the template for like solo flute music for the 20th century. I mean, that really just, it made such an impression on composers, and then, really influenced the literature afterwards. So it's kind of interesting that we both have these like monumental works that sort of were created around the same time that really set the stage for so much that came after that. So anyways.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if Kodai had heard that piece because he was such a fan of Debussy. So yeah.
It's quite possible. Maybe someday when we go back and do a doctorate, we can do a joint dissertation.
We should. We have so much time now.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Well, listen, you sound so beautiful. I'm so excited that you got to share this piece with us. And I hope that all of you out there get a chance to listen to our Urban Nocturnes fall concert, which is currently streaming for until, I believe it's up for a couple weeks. So anyways, I hope you enjoy it. And thanks so much for hanging out with me today, Melita.
Thanks, Vivi. It was fun.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.